Okay, everybody, we're back to doing some division. Don't freak out. I would love it if you're having trouble with this, if you would make yourself a paper that looks a lot like this, or print this one out, and that's fine too. I'll put it in Schoology as an attachment. Notice that I have this little paper clip on mine over here, and as I go through each step, I just slide the paper clip down one so that I know what to do next. Also, it is really helpful to use a grid paper and put numbers inside the boxes. That is a trick I learned a long time ago, and it is very helpful because lining things up appropriately is super important for this. So what we're doing is we're changing fractions into decimals. You want to make sure your divisor, your number out here, it has to be a whole number. If it isn't a whole number, remember you move the decimal to the right until it is, and however far you move the decimal in the divisor, you also have to move it in the dividend, although none of the problems that we're doing, I think, in this chapter, you have to do that. That's just something that we learned before. And also, every time you do this step, every time you do this subtraction, you need to check to make sure that the number you have is smaller than your divisor. So when it's in a fraction, the number on top, the numerator, that's the dividend, that goes on the inside, and the number on the bottom is the divisor, that one goes on the outside. The answer you get is called your quotient. So if we have a number like 5/8 and we're trying to turn 5/8 into a decimal, we're going to put the 5 on the inside, and we're going to put the 8 on the outside. And our first thing that we need to do is we need to divide the 5 by 8. So we're trying to figure out how many times can you repeatedly subtract the number 8 from a 5, and the answer is you can't. So we're either going to put an X in this space or we're going to put a 0. I'm going to put a 0. The next step is to multiply this result by the divisor. So 0 times 8 is 0. And when I subtract that, 5 minus 0 is 5. So I still have this 5. That 5, this is the check step. This 5 is less than 8, so I'm okay. And now I need to bring down the next unused digit. So do you notice that there is no number after the 5? So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a decimal here, and then we're going to put in a 0. That number, that green number, is still 5, right? So we have to take this decimal and bring it up. We learned that before. And now we're going to come back up to the beginning here, and we're going to divide. Oh, whoops, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to bring down the next unused digit, so I'm going to bring down that 0, and now I'm going to repeat it. So now I want to figure out how many times I can subtract 8 from 50, or 50 divided by 8. And this is the part where you have to kind of make some estimation. So like I know 8 times 8 is 64, that's too big. 8 times 7 is 56, that's too big. 8 times 6 is 48. 48 works. So, where am I? I'm going to divide. So 50 divided by 8, I'm going to say that's a 6. Now we're going to multiply. 6 times 8 is 48. And now we're going to subtract those two numbers. 50 minus 48 is 2. We're going to check to make sure that that 2 is less than 8, and it is. And then, since we haven't terminated, since we haven't finished, we're going to bring down the next digit, and since there isn't one, I'm going to add it, and I'm going to bring it down. And now we're moving right back up to divide again. So 20 divided by 8. I know that 8 times 2 is 16 and 8 times 3 is 24. So 3 is too big. So 2 works. So I'm going to say I can take 8 out of 20 2 times. Now we're going to multiply. 2 times 8 is 16. Now we're going to subtract. 20 minus 16 is 4. We're going to check to make sure that that 4 is less than 8, and it is. And then we're going to bring down the next number. So I'm going to bring down another 0. I'm going to go all the way back up to the beginning. 40 divided by 8. That actually, I know what 40 divided by 8 is. That's 5. So I'm going to put my 5 here. Multiply. 8 times 5 is 40. Subtract. 0. This number is a 0, and there's no other digits to bring down up top. I mean, I could bring down another 0, but then it's just going to be another 0 and another 0 and another 0. So it's terminated. It's done. So 5/8 can be rewritten as 0.625 or 625 thousandths. So this is a really helpful kind of sheet to use, especially for those of you who need, you feel like you need to have those steps to follow until it becomes a little bit of an easier process. Put a paper clip on the side and just move it down each time and see how that goes.